Today we have the second part of our 10.1.5's old Transmog weapons and armor becoming available in old Scholomans and old/new version of Naxxramas. So we have gone through how to unlock old Scholomans as well as how to unlock this new version of Naxxramas in our last video. So now it's time to talk about how to unlock the crafting system, how to unlock the new crafting recipes as well as the new items available inside of this new version of Naxxramas. Now, much like our last video, we have some prerequisites for you before you start this whole thing. Number one, make sure you have kept your Argent Dawn commission that you have gained from our last video inside of Old Scholomans. If you are smooth brain and you have deleted the Argent Dawn commission because you thought it was no longer needed, you can go back to the Quartermaster of the Argent Dawn in Chillwind Camp or the Bulwark for the Alliance and the Horde to get one of these Argent Dawn commissions back. Now, you also need to make sure to have 2 Stratholme Holy Waters, the same ones you picked up in Stratholme in our last video. If you once more have sold these things or deleted them, just go back into Stratholme, loot a couple of crates until you find a couple of these Stratholme Holy Waters. What you also need is 3 dark runes and 1 black coffee. Black coffee is a generic drink you can find in vendors in Shattrath, in Stormwind or in Dazar'alor, or you can very simply just buy this on the auction house. Then what you also need to make sure is to have gotten some Invader Scourge Stones from Stratholme or from Scholomans. These were the ones you can loot once you have your Argent Dawn commission. So if you have killed a bunch of the bosses inside of Strat, for example, and inside of Old Scholomans for the last prerequisite quests you did, you should have gotten some 20 to 30 Scourge Stones. If you haven't gotten them, then go back into Strat, go back into Scholomans and kill a bunch of bosses to loot these Scourge Stones. Once you have at least 20 Scourge Stones, your 3 Dark Runes, the Black Coffee, the Argent Dawn Commission, and a couple of Stratholme Holy Waters, you can enter this new version of Naxxramas from the new entrance, right on this Dread Ward in the Eastern Plaguelands. Once you're inside, the first thing to do inside the zone is to create the makeshift grappling hook. This will be the whole point around this new version of Naxxramas. It will have a whole bunch of grappling hooks scattered throughout the zone that you can start grappling and moving around in places you previously could not reach in the original version of Naxxramas. To be able to do this, you have to collect Fairlina's Sewing Kit, which comes from defeating Grand Widow Fairlina. You have to get the Construct's Hook, which comes from the second room of the Construct Quarter, by a vat of slime to the right of the room, and then the Abomination's Chain, which is a chance to be fished from any slime in Naxxramas. You don't need to have any kind of fishing, any kind of Northrend fishing or anything like that. As long as you have any kind of fishing learned with any kind of fishing pole learned, you will be able to loot this thing from fishing. Once you have all of the 3 items, you can use them to form the makeshift grappling hook. As soon as you have the grappling hook, you will start to see the grappling hooks around Naxxramas will become visible and you will be able to start moving around through the grappling hooks. The first thing to do is to find the Goblin NPC Zaket Skullmash. This is an NPC located in the rafters above Thaddeus's room. So once you go and do your whole parkour thing and you find this guy is sleeping, doesn't want to wake up. How do we wake him up? We wake him up with a Stratholme Holy Water. Once you splash Stratholme Holy Water on him, he will give you a quest. Inconvenience Fee. This is where you need your 20 Invader Scourge Stones, your 5 Corruptors Scourge Stones, your 3 Dark Runes, and the Black Coffee. I haven't told you for your prerequisites to have some Corruptors Scourge Stones because these drop from the bosses in Naxxramas. So this goes without saying, once you enter Naxx, go around and kill a bunch of bosses, right? Loot a bunch of these Corruptors Scourge Stones. Once you have the 5 you need, you can complete the quest. However, once you go back to the NPC will be asleep once more, which means you need your second Stratholme Holy Water to wake him up again to complete the quest. Once you wake him up again, that's how you essentially unlock the crafting recipes vendor. He will exchange a bunch of Scourge Stones that you have looted from bosses in the dungeons of Skolo and Strat, and the Corruptor Scourge Stones that you loot from the Naxx bosses for Death's bargaining chips. You need 12 bargaining chips to get a slime covered scroll. Once you have a slime covered scroll, you can reveal a random ancient recipe from Naxxramas. Just like what we will see with creating tier 3 pieces, crafting these ancient patterns may require a lot of time and RNG to get the ones you want, because each time you use a slime covered scroll, you have a random chance across the 41 different patterns and recipes and plans between blacksmithing, inscription, jewel crafting, leatherworking, and tailoring. The good news is that these patterns are not bind on pickup, so they can be both. They can be sold, they can be traded to get the ones you want, making it significantly easier, although potentially pricey or costly, to get the patterns you want. So this is the one that can be bypassed a little bit more easily with gold. Don't you want to go back in Scholomance and Strat to farm for dozens and dozens and dozens and hundreds of Invader Scourge Stones? Because for every slime covered scroll, so for every item to unlock a recipe, you need 120 Invaders Scourge Stones, which is quite a bit of time grinding some old dungeons, right? Still, that's the way for you to unlock several ancient plans of previously unavailable crafted weapons like the Blade of Unholy Might, the Blade of the Fallen Seraph, the Darrow Dirk, the Darrowshire Protector, the Death's Gamble, etc, etc. That's how you unlock the crafter guy in Naxxramas. Then you have the other part, of course, which is the tier 3 part of Naxxramas. What this vendor will also be selling for Death's Bargaining chips are going to be a bunch of dented Raiders pieces of gear. This is an item that can reveal a random item slot, depending which one you have acquired. If it's the dented Raider helm, then you can reveal a random helm from Kalindor or Eastern Kingdoms, with a chance to be a Lamented Crusader's helmet, for example. Once you have this Lamented Crusader's helmet, you can repair it. You can repair this piece of gear by using one of the cursed Naxx items. Now, where is the problem? The problem is that the cursed cloth, the languished leather, the scourged scales, and the undeath metal are only obtainable for you if you have the achievement Drop Dead Gorgeous, which is the one for having acquired a full tier 3 set. Either if you had a full tier 3 set from vanilla, or more likely, as it has been recently, if you have bought over the years the pieces from the black market auction house. The workaround for this issue is that you can work order these items if you don't have the achievement yourself. So what you do is you get a bunch of Invader Scourge Stones from the dungeons, a bunch of Corruptor Scourge Stones from the raid, you keep trading them in for the Death's Bargaining chips, you keep buying and buying and buying a Dented Raiders item slot, depending on which slot you're looking for, helmet, shoulders, chest piece, etc, etc. You keep being given a bunch of random pieces of trash gear until you eventually are given a Lamented Crusader's piece of gear. Once you have this Lamented Crusader's piece of gear, you are very likely going to go and have a work order for whichever piece you want. Once the work order comes back, you will be able to use these special items that you work ordered for to turn your Lamented Crusader item into a desecrated piece of gear. What you can do once you have the desecrated piece of gear is that you can purify it by using a Phylacter Weave and some Righteous Orbs. And that's where the larger part of the drama comes in, because after doing all of that, now you have to fork out hundreds of thousands of gold. Because effectively, if you want to complete a tier set, you have to spend 2.8 million gold in vendor math. Obviously, you can be more conservative. Maybe you don't need boots or belts or gauntlets or bracers of your tier. Maybe you're only interested in the helmet and the shoulders, for example, or the helmet and the chest piece, for example. So of course it will be much less pricey, but overall we are nearing 3 million gold in terms of having to spend money. Now, Blizzard did touch on the fact that this was going to be costing you a lot of gold. This was supposed to be some, extra special try-hard type of collectionist feature, so it's not supposed to be given out for free, it's not supposed to be simple. Yes, there is a significant grindy element to this collection, because, as I said, even before even before we reach the point where you need to spend millions of gold to get an entire tier 3 set, you will have to spend several hours inside Stratum, inside Scholomance, inside Naxxramas, and kill over and over and over again bosses for these Scourge Stones that you have to turn into a Death Bargaining Chip, which you then turn into a Dented Raider's piece of gear, which you then hope that that piece of gear will be able to RNG into a Lamented Crusader piece of gear. So all of this will require you essentially a lot of grinding. And even after that, you're not done. The reward isn't at the end of 100 hours of grinding. The reward after 100 hours of grinding is congrats, now you can spend 3 million gold to get your tier 3 set. Perhaps, especially for the ones that are not nearly as rich of you, it will likely be more of a side activity for collecting the old recipes, the old patterns, and crafting weapon transmogs and crafting armor transmogs from the cheaper types of rewards from this vendor, rather than trying to get the tier 3 pieces, which will still end up costing you several hundreds of thousands of gold per piece. There is at the moment no other way to acquire the Phylacter Weave needed for you to purify your tier 3 pieces. They will cost 2000 gold each. It's a lengthy process, it's a lengthy and costly process if you want to go through with it. You can still go for this type of content for other cool things, like for example going for the Reigns of Valiance mount, which is still available for essentially no money, just a few hours of grinding of either Naxx or the dungeons. So you can still partake in this either for the crafting recipes and the crafting transmog looks, or a few other things like the toy and the mount available from the vendor, or if you have tons of gold, or if you specifically are gunning for just one, for just one of these tier pieces, like maybe you really wanted the shoulders of one of the tier 3 sets, then yes, it will still cost quite a bit, some hundreds of thousands of gold, but definitely not near the 3 million gold cost for the full tier 3 set. This is the second part of the video of what to do once you have unlocked all Scholomance, what to do once you have unlocked the new version of Naxx, exactly once you're inside, what is there to do, and what is there to earn in this new version of Naxx. So, with this out of the way, we are now done as well. We are starting the goodbye, of course, by thanking all of the Patreon supporters for the contribution and the help to the growth of the channel. You can still support in plenty of free ways, like liking and commenting down below to cheat the YouTube algorithm, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. With these things out of the way, thank you guys again for watching. See you guys tomorrow, and in the meantime, well, I was thinking about it. I was like, maybe I can bother spending that much money on a tier set, and then I realized I play Evoker.